Hey, it's
Hello,
Wednesday.
hello. It's Wednesday, 8 p.m. Here we are.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. For the fans that know that I'm back on Not Aliens, but really this is ArcheoX,
We're
and
back from the dead.
I'm back from the dead. And here's some new people. Here's Kristi, and we have a great guest tonight. We have sound and frequency healer, crystal healer, someone who is really going to blow your mind with everything he knows. And I don't know, should we just introduce Aaron now?
Let's jump in. Let's do it.
All right, let's bring on Aaron right away. Hey, Aaron.
Hello. How's it going, everyone?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm so excited to hear all of the things that you have to say. I've read the document, and I am completely obsessed with all of the things now.
Okay.
So I'm like, this weekend, it's time to go crystal shopping. That's how I feel after reading that. The crystal shopping, for sure.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. I mean, pretty much the crystals are incorporated in everything. I mean, we wouldn't be being able to have this conversation without like a quartz technologies.
Right. So that's one of the things that I read was that it's in everything. It's in all our technologies, our phones, our computers, all of the technology that we use crystals.
Yeah. It's in us, it's in our DNA, it's in the stars, it's in pretty much like almost everything is kind of all connected with like some sort of crystal grid,
So let me ask you, how did you end up where you are?
I mean, I've been like fascinated with like rocks forever, and just kind of I've always been able since I was little to kind of see auras and see energy around things and stuff, so I can kind of see.
So when you say see, you mean like do you see the color of the auras around?
Or is it for myself, not necessarily the color. I can kind of see like a faint kind of like your like I always say your aura, like you're bringing stuff in your aura. I can kind of see like a faint. It's almost like a cellophane. You know how a sandwich bag is clear and you can see through it, but you still know there's a bag there. It's kind of like that, where I can kind of see like the light that's kind of that kind of emanates around like things and people and animals, trees, all that stuff. So
wow.
So I don't know if you ever I don't know if you ever read that book, The Celestine Prophecy. There's actually a chapter in that book where they actually kind of walk you through and teach you how to see in plants and stuff, and it brings you like a bunch of different exercises where it'll kind of incorporate, where it'll show you how you and the plants aren't separate and everything, and how you can kind of like eventually you just kind of naturally see the auras, and it like walks you in like a real straightforward way. But that book is really cool because it's an adventure book, but yet it incorporates all these like things with healing and other like alternative like medicine and all this other stuff, kind of, but through a story of an adventure. So it's kind of like a pretty cool school book.
So do you mind if I ask, is this something you were born into? Like, were you born into a family of healers, or is it something you just kind of found on your own?
Nah, definitely not. I was born into a family of like old school abusers.
I'm sorry.
Like World War I with like belts and buckles and all.
But look what it turned you into, though, right? You have to look at your life experience, and you have to think, okay, all of the things that happened led me to where I am, and now look at what you're doing. Exactly. You're healing people, which is amazing. That's amazing. But that's not where you came from. So how did you make the switch in your brain? Like, what happened? What moment? Where was the moment?
Well, all through kind of like growing up, and I kind of was like looking for like, there's that thing that could kind of explain everything. So I would look through like all different religions, studied all different kinds of religions, different this and that. And then I discovered like Sufism, which is kind of like, it's like Islamic mysticism, but yet like really like the essence of Sufi is like, like the word basically means like seeker of the truth. And so it's kind of like an ancient, so it's been around forever. Like anyone that's ever been looking for like the truth to like explain everything, kind of like with Jared and the pyramids and everything to kind of show like all the different hidden truths and the, like the hidden technology, all this other stuff that kind of, that is out there. So I've always been kind of like, there's something that can explain everything. And then once I found like crystals, and I met this one guy who I learned a lot from, because I was already interested in the subject, but he was doing like hardcore. He was the only one that I really knew that was really doing like hardcore crystal healing, where I sent pictures of myself where he's doing it on me. So I don't know if Jared has that document. You can.
Yeah. Jared,
do you want to get right into it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I will share the screen. We're just going to go for everyone listening. We'll try to describe what we can while you're while you're driving, or just listening.
Yeah. So this guy had a room where it was like a room that was all filled with sun. It was like a back kind of room, and it'd be at the bottom, kind of like after this. Yeah. And so so there I am right there. So it's these pictures kind of. And then the one above it. So
let me scroll up.
And then so there's like crystals and stuff all around there with sound bowls and everything. But then as you can see, I'm laying on top of a blanket. It looks like, but it's like a wood floor, but that's like a cut in. And then underneath that blanket, there's about 2.5 tons of like quartz crystal that I'm laying on top of everything else. So then all the different ones that he's kind of laying on top of you, it kind of like, okay, this is going to be good for your healing. This is going to be good for this chakra. This one is going to be good where it's going to really accelerate this. And then you have the other ones to kind of help like you out with. And so he kind of like before every session, we would sit with him and it was like individual, and we would have tea. So, kind of like the ancient Asian custom of having tea, where you would, have a cup of tea. We would appreciate get in the moment. Then he had like a bunch of like different like tarot cards and spirit cards and all this other stuff kind of laid out and stuff. And he asked you to grab a card out of one of, there was like probably like 10, 15 different decks, and you would grab a card, and then he would kind of be like, okay, so this card like symbolizes, because you wouldn't just grab the top one, you grab the deck and kind of feel it. So, so it would incorporate like your energy into it as you're shuffling the deck. It kind of like incorporates what is coming from you and everything. So then you draw the card, and he's like, okay, this is kind of what you need to heal, and this is kind of what you need all the things, because we talk about kind of why do you want to do crystal healing like prior to that and everything. And so then
and Aaron, can I ask you, like, is that something that resonated when he would come back to you and he would say like, this is something you need to heal, this is something you need to work on? Is that something you felt like it resonated, like you knew?
Yep. And with him though, I'm just kind of hard-headed because I was a lot further along the path than most of the people he worked with. So, he would always be, and I was like, come on, man, that's so basic. We need to like, come on, we need to
really get into it. Yeah.
This is like, I was like, I don't need like the little basic handheld course. I need to like, let's go through. I'm trying to find a way that we can do this on like mass level, and like a way where you can really start to wake up minds and stuff, because there's like, what's that story where it shows where there are these gorillas on this one island, and they notice that when they're eating their bananas, they're washing their bananas, and they notice that behavior has never happened like before, and they're with these gorillas. But then on these other islands that had never had any contact, the gorillas were washing their bananas there. So it kind of shows then that once one thing is happening with your species, is that then it kind of like it happens with all species, like with humans, for instance, we'll have like inventions and science and everything, but it seems like they all happen at once. It's like one happens here in this specific part of the globe, one happens in this part of the globe, because we're all kind of connected by an individual thread. So as more people kind of wake up and kind of see everything, it kind of helps raise the consciousness of the planet, So.
Which is exactly kind of where we're at with this podcast.
Mhm.
And it's sort of a mix of where we come from, where we're going, what we don't understand, what we don't know, and then also there's this enormous consciousness connection to everything.
Yeah.
And when you say like individual threads, like, yes, we have individual threads, but I feel like there's also a universal thread that
Yeah.
connects us all. So you can't really hurt one person without hurting another person because we're generally all the same.
Yeah. What's that old concept that everything is you pushed out,
Yes. Everything is you pushed out. Yeah. I read something recently that said something about your inner world. Like when you look at the universe, that's actually your inner world that you're looking at. When
Yeah.
you're looking out at the stars and you're looking out at the universe, like that's actually your inner world that
Yeah.
you're looking at. And that's something that I'm trying to figure out in the process of life, is how my consciousness operates in this physical universe.
Yeah.
Which is a struggle for people waking up to figure out. Like when you start waking up and you start realizing, whoa, okay, this doesn't, either I'm seeing things or feeling things or catching energies or something that, for whatever reason people wake up. But it's the learning of the inner. It's all inside. There is nothing outside.
Yep.
It's all inside. Would you agree?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Everything is you inside like especially with like some of the crystals, especially say like some of the manifestation crystals that I like to incorporate, like especially like moldavite or
Yeah. Can we scroll to that, Jared? Scroll. Sorry. I'm sorry, Aaron.
Yeah.
Scroll to the section where it talks about, he talks about that in here.
Yeah.
Is that down from here?
Yep. It's down from there. Yep.
Is it down?
Yep. There it is. It should be the moldavite area right there. Yep. It's a little below this crystal grids and stuff, and it talks about kind of, but especially with moldavite. So moldavite is it's a tektite, which means that it's not really a crystal. It came from an asteroid that hit our planet, and the intense heat created like the ground where there was usually like a sand, and so it creates the heat, and the sand create like a glass. It's I mean, that's how we make glass nowadays.
It's
anyways.
Like the movie
Yeah.
from Alabama.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then this one was known to really have like powerful things, and so there's like a lot of stories about moldavite. I have stories where this crystal kind of resonates on a level, it vibrates on a level. I can feel it. I mean, even really like regular people don't even know anything about crystals. When they hold it in their hands, they can kind of feel it vibrate, where it vibrates on a frequency that's not of this earth. And a lot of people, like, they'll get it and their face will turn red. They'll get like all this other stuff and everything. Yeah. And I mean, this crystal is also worth more than diamonds now, and it's scarcer than diamonds. So the price is only going up.
Where do we find it?
There's like a couple crystal shops here in Minneapolis that I know. I usually get mine in person. I mean, you can order some stuff. There's a couple like reputable dealers that you can order it to that I know of. But but this one is kind of where it's tied to UFOs. I mean, there's been so many stories of moldavite where all other crystals operate on your inner. So they help you out. Say I'm using rose quartz and it's going to help my heart chakra, and it's going to help me heal and bring the self-love that I need into my life. Or I've got quartz crystals, which are just amplifying crystals. So you incorporate those with like everything else that you need to kind of amplify. So like really intensify like everything. So then along with that, you kind of like incorporate the mold of, so all those crystals kind of work on your inner being. So, so then the moldavite works on your outer being. It forces
the
you to
manifestation one, right?
Yeah. Yep. Well, it forces you to live your like your highest life, or to walk your truest purpose. And so that's why a lot of people say that it messes up with their lives, because they'll have a job and that job doesn't resonate with like their highest purpose. So all of a sudden they end up losing that job through some way, or they end up losing friends, or relationships go bad, or all this other stuff, because those people weren't meant for their higher purpose. And they're not really a part of like what they really need for, is to grow. So it's kind of like a stone of joy, because it kind of like taps into your like most childhood joy, because if you think about it, in your most like childhood state, that's when you're in your most innocence, you're like your most like truest state. Like I love
Most authentic.
to paint. Yeah. So, and it kind of forces you to live that way. So it'll manifest like a positive outlook. All of a sudden you'll be like, 6 months later, you'll be like, dang, I was thinking about, I really wanted to start a murals and really start working on this. All of a sudden I've got like 6 mural jobs. I'm painting, I'm doing all this other stuff. And they came out of the blue, where like emails are sent to me like, hey, we're looking for an artist, or hey, we're looking for this or this, or, it's kind of like you put the intention out there, and then the stone helps you with that,
So why do you, so this is becoming more and more common, right?
Yeah.
The all the woo-woo people, all the shaman, all the people that are, like crystals, natural healing, holistic, all this stuff, like have been called woo-woo for so long. Yeah. And now we're starting to figure things out, and we're starting to reconnect with ourselves, and reconnect with the earth, and reconnect with all of the elements around us. And as we actually see
that this stuff is ancient technologies that are like way more advanced than kind of what we have now. And it was natural technologies, right. So they were also incorporated with the earth. So then everything just flowed. There was no like, there wasn't a frequency of like dissonance, everything was like the frequency of harmony, like harmony and everything. Yes. So where everything kind of flowed, where, I mean, you can kind of see, like, if you go back, they were doing a ton of stuff with frequency and crystal healing, even way back when. I know, so malachite, it's like a green crystal. Do I have? I've got some downstairs. But yeah, that is like one where it's like a green, and it's got like another darker green and all this other stuff inside. I might have some right here.
Jared, I think you showed it on that.
Yeah, but I mean, that one is really great for your heart. It like helps your heart, but like in ancient China, that's what they would adorn all of their walls with, in like the emperor's palace was with malachite. They like every room and all the walls was all covered with malachite. So like if you see like all the different shapes and stuff like that, you can kind of see how beautiful that is, and imagine
so beautiful.
walls of that were all, like paved. And then you would kind of feel, as you walk through, you would kind of get the energy, because they kind of knew about the energy. I mean, the ancient like Tibetans.
I don't know if you can see this or not, but I have chill bumps just looking at the pictures and having the conversation. So I could feel it just. It's a thing. Yeah. I get it.
Yep. And then so they also incorporated stuff with like sound, like the Tibetans, all the Buddhist stupas. Those are actually like are shaped like bells for a reason, because they also knew about like sound frequencies and everything too. So they kind of went through and all that stuff too as well. So
you're combining sound frequency and crystal healing together.
Yeah. Yep. So how I do it now is I'll do something similar to what I did, where I'll lay this stuff on you and the crystals on you. But now I have like tuning forks. And so I'll tune with different pitches and stuff, and kind of go, if you have pain in your knee or you have pain in your area, and then I'll do it in your ear. So you get the little, the ringing to get inside your ear of that like healing frequency. And then I'll lay the crystals on you, as, there's like incense and lay like Palo Santo in the room and cleansing the energy. And then like some good, like little, I usually do Sufi music. It's good, like real meditative music to kind of get
what
you
is
like
Sufi music. That's something I've never heard of.
So their main instrument is called the nair, And so the Nair is like a reed flute, and their story about it is that the reed flute, when they play it, is that it because it was cut from the bed, that the flute, the song you're hearing from the flute, is that it's calling to be regained to its source. And so it's kind of like an analogy to us humans, that our calling and our music is trying to get reconnected back to our source as well.
Which you believe is what?
What
is your belief?
There's as many paths. There's as many paths as there are people. So I don't really try to incorporate my path on anyone else, because everyone has to walk their own path.
Sure.
But you'll see the similarities with people. So like, you're like, okay, I'm cool with that. I see similarities with that person. I see similarities with this person. I always try to find like similarities with everyone. Like whether, because you have no idea what that soul is going on for that soul at that moment, and what they're learning and everything else.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think that's something we should keep in mind while we're all walking around on the planet as humans, is even when people seem like they're just being an asshole, like maybe they're not. Like maybe they're just having an extremely hard time. So
and they don't know how to deal with that, can't handle with that. Yeah.
Because we haven't been taught, and what you're doing is like, it's the natural way, I feel like, of healing and learning and then teaching others too. We're so disconnected from ourselves and from the planet that we don't even know where to start to heal or be better or raise our consciousness, expand it in any type of way. And so one of the things that I thought was super interesting when I was reading through the Word document that you sent, the article that you sent, was you listed all of the inner crystals. And then there was, and so crystals, that's something new for me. I'm not very familiar with it. Yeah. So I'm learning, and reading your article was amazing. I was super fascinated. And so I saw the list of all of the inner, the inner crystals. And then we've got the malachite, the outer crystal, which I think is also amazing. And why do you think we're so disconnected from these natural healing remedies?
Well, I mean, there is kind of like the whole control for the planet sort of thing. So there is sort of that going on, so there are certain technologies and stuff that they want to keep hidden. I mean, if we want to talk about, the Great Reset that happened at the end of the 1800s and 1900s with all the floods that got rid of all the great, the Tertullian, civilization and buildings and all that proof that we had.
Aaron, you want to talk about the bells?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Let's talk about the bells, the Tartarian bells. Let's do it.
Yeah, I extended my Word document. I've got a whole thing about the bells. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about the bells. Well, so they got rid of them, they used to have the bells in every city way back when, and they were known that they were healing too. Plus, many of the old world beliefs, they were
there were bells everywhere. When you look at pictures from the 1800s, early 1900s, when you look at pictures of structures and architecture, you see bells everywhere. And then all of a sudden now there are bells nowhere.
Yeah, but and then according to old folklore, the bells were rung to keep the evil spirits at bay, because they hated the sound of it. So it was also a healing too, and so it was like a protector too. So it kind of healed the sick. The thing with the Buddhist stupas, they're all shaped like bells, and they also operate on the same frequency as these bells too. And
what frequency is that?
Well, they're like different ones. There was ones that were 256, which is or there was the other one too. There's that document where I shared too that had all the different healing frequencies, and then all of the
How do you feel about 963?
Mm. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let me see.
Not the healing frequency. How do you feel about
Yeah.
that of 963? Oh, is that what you're pulling up?
Yeah. Go.
So for those that don't know that are listening while Aaron's looking it up, we're just talking about the bells that were all over the world and suddenly disappeared and were melted
They
down.
were commissioned. Yep. So they were commissioned by the Nazis. Originally, they had them. So between 1939 and 1945, like 175,000 bells across Europe were taken by the Nazis in Germany, and then they were transported to this collection point known as.
I'm sorry, Aaron. Can you repeat that number? How many bells?
Oh, yep. Between 1939 and 1945, 175,000 bells across Europe were taken by Nazi Germany, and they were transported to these different collection points. And they was known as like the Glockenpfeifer, or like the bell cemeteries. And the biggest one of them was in Hamburg. And there were like 150,000 of them that were just delivered to that one alone. And they were delivered to the foundries, melted down to make castings for their armaments, for the war, whatever. And, but yet they were also like, because Germany knew, because they were involved in like an esoteric war with the United States. I mean, that was true. They were after the Spear of Destiny. They were after the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, all this stuff, because, Hitler believed he was Elias, like the reincarnation of Elias coming down to, free the people.
And for Elijah, those that don't know, can you explain who Elias is?
Elijah, he's like.
Oh, you said Elijah.
Yeah. He thought he was like the reincarnation of Elijah or Elias, whatever you want to. He thought he was going to come and save everyone, and so he was getting rid of like all the evil people in his mind and all this other stuff. But yet he was also engaged in like an esoteric war with the United States, and so there was like a bunch of stuff going on, then too, where they were like involved with like. I mean, there was like the UFO technology. There was like them down in Antarctica. We were like in a war down there. They're like trying to control it. We sent Admiral Byrd after World War II with like a ton of man of wars. You can read his diary where he talks about the other world that he found.
Exactly. And okay, oh my God, I'm so glad that you brought that up. That's amazing. Like I thought we were going to have to save this for another podcast episode, but this is amazing. So what do you feel? Like that was in what, like 1929? It was in 1929, and he was flying a plane over Antarctica, and all of a sudden he enters this different world. And then not only does he enter a different world, but his plane shuts off. All the instrumentation, all the mechanics, everything shuts off. And he's
escorted by UFOs. Yeah.
He's escorted. Yeah. He's escorted in, and there's a whole city.
Yeah.
He's all in.
There's a second sun. Yeah, he described another sun, which is funny too, because there's also that diary coincides with another sailor from the 1800s who also had one too as well, and his story was the exact same. Their boat went into the water, and all of a sudden they were escorted into like a whole nother world, and he describes like a very similar world as well. So
the beings, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Aaron, but tell me if you heard the same thing or read or researched whatever the same things, but the beings that did the escorting in were peaceful. They were peaceful and they were chosen.
Yeah, and they spoke to you through their mind, like when they talk to you, you just heard their words in your mind, like,
and that was it. And he there was no fear. He described having no fear. He was like, okay, well, this is, and he was, and they told him that he was chosen because of who he was, because of his life experience and his, I guess, maybe where he was vibrating. I don't know. He was chosen.
Here's another interesting thing about Antarctica is that J.R. Tolkien, did you know that the whole Middle Earth is based on like the lands beyond the ice wall? And so, there was his great grandfather saw like the ancient maps that they saw when it was like the world without the moon, and they saw like all these ancient maps, and it coincided. And of course, they're trying to say, oh yeah, those aren't real, but yet all of the other lands around where the ice wall would be are all exactly the same on these ancient maps. For, so like, okay, so they were correct about everything else, but now they're going to be wrong about this part. I don't think so. That's not, so it's just, it's just like the Great Reset.
Great Reset map with that too. And you can say, okay, well, Antarctica was mapped, right?
Yeah.
If it was mapped before it was covered in ice, we didn't even have we didn't even have the technology to map.
Well, and if we want to really talk and get deeper, we can talk about how Hitler and the Thule Society and Madame Blavatsky and how she was going through, and she was looking for Shambhala, and she went to India, and then she also went to Tibet, and she found an entrance supposedly to, and supposedly the ancient stories were that when like in Eden, when they were being, and they found out that they were going to be there, that they went underground and they connected all of this. There's like the whole world is connected underground. That's why we see similar technologies and similar things all around the world. And they found that there's underground tunnels. I mean, like on Google Earth, they found like like underground water, like underground huge, like city, like walls and all that stuff. Like,
so we just talked about that. Like, it's so funny that we actually just talked about the inner world, because the core of the earth being this molten lava, core, it's just a theory. It's not.
I think it's more like Jules Verne, like really like that, like they said, like, which would make sense with Admiral Byrd, all these other people. It's a whole nother world.
It's a whole nother world. There's no lava in there. Like, that's just what keeps people away from going in there. Maybe, I don't know. But you can look at Google Earth, and you can look at different which, now you have to question everything that you see because of AI.
Yeah.
But
and we, and like the main question is that, Earth is really, or like America is really what, the lost Egypt. We're really, like, if you think about that, all the technology and everything else, were, like when they really say, oh, it's over in Egypt. No, it's actually was in America. This is like the ancient Egypt. And like the giants, all this,
there are structures.
Oh no, and they've found and they found like so much. They found like different ones. I showed Jared about that one in Kentucky, that big pyramid with like where they're worshiping Isis and Osiris, and like all these other people, the mountain people came, and those Native Americans, they were just like came on those and like occupied those mounds. They didn't actually create like none of those mounds that were like basically pyramids. They weren't really mounds. They were. And then we also, if you want to look at like the pyramids, why the pyramid, huh? Then you look at Nikola Tesla and basically show that these are basically free energy devices, So I've got like orgonite pyramids. Here's a little orgonite. I don't know if you can kind of see the heavy metals and the crystals.
Stopping Saturday. That's on the list.
Yeah, so you can kind of see.
Amazing. It's beautiful.
So it's got the heavy metals in. So this is kind of how it draws down the orgone. And then
can you show us one more time?
Yep. And then this is an orgone, like other one too, where this one you can kind of see it's got all the heavy metals, the crystals. And then this one also has the crystals at the top too, where it'll pull the energy in, all the negative energy into it, and then it transmutes it, and then it exhales and puts it all. And then there's other little orgonite ones where I've got like little discs and stuff, where these ones are just kind of little ones you can just put places and leave places and stuff to kind of help out with like EMF and like all this other.
I'm doing it all wrong. I have 2 crystals, and both of them are stress crystals, and they have holes in them, and you just rub them back and forth to relieve stress. That's what I have. That's about as far as I get into crystalism. So I'm really excited about this.
Aaron, what would you do for what crystals would you use for stress?
It depends if there's like outer, like if you need like protection and stuff, or want to ground yourself, like
or reconnecting. Like, say you feel misaligned and disconnected from source, from all, like what would you do?
I would really say that you need some self-love, and so you'd want to incorporate some rose quartz and some malachite into your, and then also some tiger's eye too, which is a good one. And it kind of incorporate those. And then some good amethyst is also good because that is good for your third eye and kind of, kind of helps you with your discernment and stuff and everything too. So
can you speak on a scientific level of how some of these crystals work so that the audience understands it's not just woo woo, that it's actually there's scientific method behind this?
Yeah. So like quartz crystal in particular, that's an amplifying crystal. It operates in every cell phone and everything. They discovered it back in 1979 when they first made watches, and they would use for winding gear, they use like a quartz crystal for watches, for like the really fancy watchmakers. And they realized that when they used quartz crystal, it never missed. It was perfect alignment. It never skipped. It was perfect. It's like, and they're like, oh, okay. And then that kind of started with like, now we use it for technology. We use it for our cell phones, like, because it's amplifying, it takes everything else and it amplifies it. Gold is like, as far as metals go, gold is the best amplifier. Then it goes silver and then copper. But of course, no one's going to use gold pipes or anything else, because it's way too expensive. So we just use copper, which is still good as an amplifier. So you kind of can take quartz, you can wrap like copper around it and everything else, and you can actually create like a little charge, and you can kind of like even feel that charge and stuff too. If you take like a quartz crystal and mash it up into like it's almost a powder, and you do the same thing with coal, you put those together, and then you can put an epoxy over it, and that's a solar panel. That's how they make solar panels. It's with quartz crystals and coal. And so it's, and so that's how they collect. And the quartz is able to collect all the sun because it's an amplifier. And so it can also amplify energy as well. And so that incorporated with the coal just is able to collect all the energy and store it and everything else. And,
can you speak to the way you feel like crystals and energy relate? Can you speak to that? Can you just speak to the way that crystals relate to because what I want the audience to know or hear is how crystals can be healing and how those two things relate.
Yeah. Well, I think, so I do something called crystal healing where I'll lay crystals on you. I did it with Jared. He can maybe also talk about, some of the experiences that he experienced with it as well. And it kind of, it incorporates the healing aspects because they're able to clear energy, and they also can collect energy as well. Say like black tourmaline or shungite or other stones like that are able to actually collect energy, so they can take negative energy and they collect it, and so they will suck it out from you, kind of like how that old school like thing that your grandma would tell you to cut an onion and put it in the bottom of your sock on your and lay like in your sock and then go to bed, and then that onion would suck out all of the negative out of your body. It's kind of what some crystals would do to you too. And then like shungite, like on a scientific level, there are these things called fullerenes. And so shungite is the only inorganic, like the only organic material on the planet that naturally has the fullerenes that they naturally create. And these fullerenes,
and what
they're
are those?
like these soccer ball shaped molecules. Yep. So they're fullerenes, and they're like alive. Yep. And they're like a soccer ball shaped molecule, and they spin, and they have a positive spin, and everything that comes into contact with them, it gets sucked into them because they're an empty like molecule, but then that thing can't escape it, and it can't escape it. And so then even if it has a negative spin, it becomes positive and it gets incorporated into that. So shungite, the fullerenes, turn everything that's negative into a positive. And so they have been proven as like the best water filters. Like the really fancy water filters are now actually starting to use shungite in their water filters. The Tsar of Russia back in the 1500s, he he found that when they bathe in like the Kyrene like region in like the Shanghai Mountains where like the stone is found, that the soldiers, like after bathing in that water, they felt great, and then after drinking the water, they felt great. So he would have all of his soldiers put a stone in their water bottles, and they would like drink the water, and shungite it's been proven to get rid of chlorine out of water, like fluoride. It'll get rid of fluoride out of water. It'll get rid of like all this stuff, and it's actually proven. But the fullerenes were discovered in was it 1990, it was like 94, whatever. The guy won the Nobel Prize in the fullerenes, and that's now how medical science administers all drugs, because they found that soccer ball shaped like molecule way is the best way to administer everything, because everything stays positive. Everything, it's like a shape that doesn't break. It's like the buckyball, so it's like a solid structure. So they're able to administer drugs. Yep. So it's called the buckyball. And so he won the Nobel Prize for it. And now that's how we administer all drugs, is by like a buckyball. So that's, so that's kind of like how they're able to kind of like whatever liquid or whatever, how they're able to transport it without losing any of the stuff, because it stays in that shape. And and that was actually discovered, because of shungite. So that's like something that's like scientifically where this stone and shungite is also interesting, and that they're not really sure if it was like a tektite, if it was a UFO, or if it was like an old ancient ocean that instantly, like maybe when the earth flipped, or there was like whatever happened, or the great deluge, the great flood that every story has. Maybe when that happened, instantly that this ocean instantly evaporated, because then it had all, and so that's why it has the fullerenes and so much of that, because that they're saying was maybe anorganic matter, like fishes or whatever, all instantly that just kind of, instantly, like all of a sudden there's no water in the ocean instantly, and all that stuff just instantly goes in, and then all becomes, the stone over time.
Fossils.
Yeah. But like thousands of, like a whole ocean worth of fossils, like instantly, like all.
So what do you think about the ocean under the ocean?
Yeah, it's the ocean is a very interesting subject. I mean, isn't that where NASA first, that's where they were first going, was the ocean, and then they got scared.
Yes, that's exactly right. And you keep referring to UFOs, and I'm just thinking like why, we spend a lot of money and resources exploring space, but I don't feel like we spend resources exploring our own Earth, like the oceans on the Earth.
No, they're scared. They're scared of the ocean. I mean, let's go like the Mariana Trench or whatever. Like, that's scariest places. Well, I mean, if you want to see what isn't Everest, like we have ocean rock on Everest, so like that was once, before the earth flipped, that was once,
Earth flipped or flooded?
There was like a flip at one time, but I think the flip happened. The stories are like the ancient stories were like the earth without a moon. There's all those stories where like two like lizard brothers, that was the Aboriginal version. Two lizard brothers came and they rolled a great egg across the universe and put it in our orbit. And then Plato has stories where he talks about where he references hearing stories about the earth without the moon and how everything was different.
So I recently saw a video of a professor from the, 19, maybe 40s, 50s. and he was describing, maybe even earlier than that, and he was discussing how it hasn't been a moon.
No.
We haven't always had a moon. And then there are all these theories about how did the moon get there and what is it? So what are your thoughts on the moon? If you believe the moon hasn't always been, what are your thoughts on the moon?
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts on the moon. I think it's a hollow spacecraft, you know.
Oh, that's what I think. I think it's a hollow spacecraft too. I do too.
I mean, it's like there's so many things like that are just abnormalities, you know. There's like,
right. You think that's where the Galactic Federation meets?
I don't know. There's like supposedly, so there were the people that, you know, that government agency that, you know, the men who stare at goats, that, you know, who remote view. And so there were all these people who left the CIA and now have like, and we're literally like working with them and we're doing the remote viewing, who have since come out. And one of their areas to remote view was the dark side of the moon. And they were telling stories about all the different bases and all the different things that are going on and all of the life that's going on out there, and seeing other people. And this one guy had a story where he was remote viewing and he was looking at someone and he was like, oh yeah. And so I was just looking at him, and then all of a sudden they were looking directly back at me and they were like seeing me. And he was like, whoa, what the hell? Like, I'm remote viewing. How are they seeing me? And how are they like, and I was like, of course, you know, because their mind is like way, you know, so yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of crazy things.
There's a lot of crazy theories about the moon, but I love that. I haven't heard
and
that
there's
one.
like, yeah, and there's like, you know, the moon is older than Earth. So if it's our satellite, how is it, you know, so the Earth is estimated to be about 4.6 billion years old, where the moon rock has been dated to be 5.3 billion years old. So the moon is older than Earth. So
if it hasn't always been there, then how?
Yeah, because it's an older like empty like planetoid or whatever that got rolled over here. So it's,
and they just used it. They just decided to figure out how to slice into it and use it as a base station. Jared, I'm sorry. I'm just doing all of the talking here. If you have if you have questions, feel free to just chime in at any point.
No, you're doing good. You're having a really good time. This is like the problem is, everybody, we both have as much on our minds, and the reality is that you're having a great time. But don't you think that if the moon was designed, if it's a craft, then it could have been built somewhere else and then brought here? So that, you know, that if it was built by design and it's at a very specific space from the planet, but yeah, no, you're having a good time. You just keep rolling. I'll interrupt.
It's a very specific, but here's the thing about the moon is the moon also, right? The lunar phases, it controls wildlife and it controls the waves of the ocean. And how? If the moon, so let's say if the moon is a hollow space station for the Galactic Federation, or, you know, other beings living on the moon or in the moon or whatever, how is that controlling all of the things that it does to, you know, like like hunting at night, or not at night, because that's illegal. Nobody does that. But hunting, you know, that's you can look at the moon phases and you know when the best times to hunt are based on the moon phases, and that's primal. That goes back to primal times. So like, how does it affect if it's nothing but a hollow space station floating above us? How does it control the oceans?
And let's also talk about the Earth is the only planet out of every planet to be blessed with the satellite, the moon, that gives us a perfect eclipse. No other planet has one that gives them a perfect eclipse. It's like it was put there, you know, the mathematical impossibilities. Plus, speaking of mathematical impossibilities about the moon, it also has uranium-238 and a neptunium-237, two elements that are not found in nature, are found in large amounts all over the moon. So there's like.
So who put it there? What's your theory?
I mean, those elements only come from nuclear fusion. So, that's how they're produced. So if there is a lot of stuff, so it also gives credence to that them, like it being a hollowed out, the structure. It also echoes. It also, when like asteroids hit at Apollo 12, they like noticed, and so did the Soviets too in 68, that when like asteroids, like the moon will echo for like over half an hour. It'll like resonate like a bell.
That's what Neil Armstrong said when he landed. He said that, granted, everyone can argue about whether or not that happened, but he said that they landed, and he said it rang like a bell. He said it himself. Yeah. So.
Oh, and also how come all the craters are exact same depth? Every crater is the exact same depth.
What do you mean by that? Can you clarify? What do you mean?
Yep. So all the craters, like no matter how large of the crater or how small, like the depth is the same. So if it's a huge crater hole, it should be 4 to 6 times larger than what it is, but the depth is the same. It's like they hit an impenetrable surface where nothing is going to go past that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That would make sense if I were trying to hide something inside of a hollow moon.
Hey, not that we're getting too.
In Apollo 16, astronauts supposedly found moon rocks with rusted iron, but they've never found ever traces of water on the moon. So how would iron rust if there was no trace of oxygen or water?
Not that we want to digress further into the moon. Oh, I was going to say, somewhere between shungite. If you were interested in crystal healing, period.
Yeah.
What are some of the basics? Like you have a particular. Actually, let's digress on 2 things. One, what would be a good starter kit for people? But before that, you want to talk a little bit about your necklace?
Oh yeah. I've just got a bunch of necklaces here. I've got a Libyan desert glass, a moldavite one.
Can't see them. Can you hold them up so we can see them?
Yep. This one is Libyan desert glass right here. This one is moldavite, and then it's beveled on this side, so it's polished on this side, and then on this side it's raw moldavite. And then
is that intentional? Is there a reason we should do that?
Well, they say that with moldavite, if it's beveled, it supposedly makes it stronger.
Okay.
But then I've also got a raw one. I've got a piece of shungite here. I've got a piece of lapis lazuli, and then another piece of moldavite right here too as well.
You sleep in these?
Yeah, I wear them pretty much all the time. So
you shower in them, sleep in them. They're just there.
Yep.
Okay, I love
it.
You want to? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yep. No, go on. Yep.
I was gonna ask you to like back up to maybe like some of the stuff that how Einstein, you mentioned was involved a little bit.
Oh yeah. So that was with William Reichert. So he's the guy who's kind of responsible for discovering orgone energy. So he is the one who kind of came up with the orgonite and kind of like noticed that there's this kind of like positive energy in the world, which he called orgone, and then there's like a negative energy, which he dubbed like door, or so like dead energy. So like basically like dead orgone. And he found that when you take like heavy metals and stuff, he noticed that it can create and it can kind of attract this like negative energy. So then he was able to then find a way where he would come up with these devices like this. This is an orgone device, and it's got heavy metals down here, and it's got some crystals. Then it's got like a copper tube, and then another crystal, and then inside there's like another crystal.
That crystal came off. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not one thing.
This one's fluorite. Yep, this is fluorite. I've got
Did you build that yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then so then basically this attracts negative energy and then transmutes it as positive energy and then shoots it back up into the atmosphere. And so that's why it's got the copper tube and everything else. So the guy that discovered this energy, his name is William Riker, and he was a German scientist who actually came over eventually after World War II with Operation Paperclip. So he was kind of one of these like German scientists. But his connection with Einstein is that he let Einstein know that, hey, I found this new kind of energy and that I found a way where we can are able to amplify and heat it up without having a heating source, where we can create like free energy. And so this is something that you should really research. So he gave his research information to Einstein. Einstein kind of looked at it and then he was like, it's a hoax or whatever. But then he also then warned the US as yeah, actually, this would be a way where you could create a lot of energy and it could be used as a bomb. And so and if Germany is working on this, and we need to work on something like this as well. So then Einstein kind of got to that. He maintained a connection with William Riker for a while, and William Riker kept on trying to get Einstein to be to back his research and to kind of give his word and his go ahead, but he never really did. Einstein just kind of wanted to maintain the correspondence so he could keep on getting more information for himself and for the US government. And then he kind of ostracized him as well. And then that was at the end, because William Riker also created these orgone accumulators, which are these boxes that you sit in. And these boxes have different layers. And then he said that these boxes could cure people of cancer. And so there were actually people too that actually went in and were having cancer. They were like nothing else is working, and so they were like, I'm going to go in, and they actually did then show where they were cancer free after that. And so a lot of it too though is the power of your mind. If you're stepping into something else, your mind can create oh my gosh, this is going to work as well. So is it the orgone which can operate, but is that also intensifying your own intentions as well?
Yeah.
Too. And so, so then long story short, the FDA got involved. They bought a device. They said that he was trying to cure cancer without a medical license. They came in, grabbed all of his research, locked him in prison, and he died a couple years later in prison.
So unfortunate. What a mind to lose.
Yeah, but some of his research was leaked, and so that's why we actually know what orgonite was and stuff. And then some of that, the people, the testimonials of people that that were used as devices. But yeah, he did create this thing called a cloudbuster too, where he noticed that these pipes can go into the atmosphere and they can kind of help with drought. So he would, if there was too much stuff with these orgonite devices, they could knock out clouds. They can knock out other things basically, so yeah, I mean I've done it before. I've made ones myself, knocked out chemtrails and stuff. You can knock out chemtrails with them. And
what?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you know this or not, but I work in the aerial mapping industry. And our biggest fight is clouds.
Yep.
We do, clouds cause shadows. And if we're trying to take pictures of the earth and there's clouds, it causes shadows. And sometimes we don't want that. And so we make jokes when we're flying about, I wish I was a cloud buster.
Yeah. They have, the cloud busters, and then they've intensified them now by incorporating multiple crystals with them and doing big ones. So it'd be like that one that I showed you, but just on a 10-foot scale as opposed to a handheld scale. So then that's able to affect the atmosphere on a much larger level.
So with the moon being, a possible hollow satellite, and people taking their crystals out to charge them under the moon, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it works. I mean, it's, if it's an energy device, then why not, right?
Yeah.
Because it's basically what it is. So, there's all those stories about that the moon is like the way station for when you die and you get reincarnated. Your soul goes through the moon and then comes back to Earth or whatever, or something. I don't know. That's just like these ancient stories or whatever. I don't know.
Well, what do you do when there was no moon then? What about
Yeah,
if there,
what was before the moon? Where did we go before the moon?
Wasn't it just Eden? And didn't we just live forever?
oh, the moon became the moon was a necessary backup device?
Yeah, and Saturn. Well, they actually, yeah, there's someone else who talks about how the planets are all inside you and everything too.
So what are your thoughts on like our consciousness and how it operates inside this physical experience that we're having?
Mm-hmm. Not what we're a universal being having an earthly experience.
Yeah. Yeah. But what do you think like before and after?
Yeah, it's like what this is like a world of like forgetfulness. And so you're born into like this world of forgetfulness and you forget how glorious you really are. So then you're spending all this time like learning, but you're not really learning. All you're doing is remembering, like how great you really are.
And the abilities that you have. And you said it in the article that you wrote, like we have we should have these natural abilities that we're disconnected from for a variety of reasons, but we're disconnected from.
Yeah, and there's those old stories of Enki and Enlil, supposedly, if you want to talk about the Sumerian stories, where like Enki, when he left, he gave us as his parting gift the ability to unlock 100% of our mind, and then his brother Enlil stayed a little bit longer and made like a little side deal to like not let us have that ability or whatever.
Sounds like a book I haven't read yet.
Yeah, there's like all this ancient, like Sumerian and cuneiforms that they found, and like all these ancient stories that.
I love that though.
Yeah.
That's so interesting to think. It's so interesting to think. It's like it's like a Cain and Abel situation.
Yeah. Yeah, which all those stories are all based off of the Sumerian stories. Like they're all based off of.
Yeah.
So if you're doing,
Go ahead.
Right. So for the crystals you have on you, why do you keep them on 24 hours a day?
So these ones, especially the moldavite, because they're like manifestation crystals. Plus, they also kind of help you like see other people for who they truly are, kind of. So, like, say, you know how like people will like put masks on. It kind of helps you lift the veil and kind of see their intention.
That would save us a lot of time with people, wouldn't
it?
Yeah. So, I mean, so it's good for that. It kind of, they're good for protection. And then, like daily, I'll kind of grab different ones that I kind of think I might need, I'm like, okay, I need this, or I need these. And I'll just put them in my pocket and just kind of keep them in there, if it's because it's, and then it's that energy.
What do you carry in your pocket?
What do I have
see
in
you
there
digging
today?
it out there. What's in your pocket?
Yeah. Today, right now, I have just two things of tiger's eye, some citrine, and then some red carnelian.
Well, what is it? What do those two do?
Yeah, so the tiger's eye is a good protection stone, and it's good. It kind of helps like the evil eye kind of stay away, as they say. They have those other ones, like the evil eye and stuff. It kind of operates like the same way. And then citrine is good for your like base chakra, like right down there, like your root chakra and stuff. It's good for that energy. And then it helps to kind of lock up, because that's a spot where like energy can get locked up a lot of times and stuff. And so it helps to kind of unlock that. And then carnelian is just like a soothing stone. It just kind of like soothes energy and stuff.
I love that.
So,
take your stones and out? Do you have giant crystals all over your house that you take outside and charge under the moon? Yeah.
Yep. And then it kind of depends what you want each day and stuff. You kind of grab this for this day, or or depending if I'm going out, I might need like this. I might need like some black tourmaline because I need some protection because I know I'm going to be going to some crazy spots or whatever. So,
you want to share your story about the shungite rejection?
Oh yeah, yeah. So that with Moldavite. So I was telling you that Moldavite. There have been stories of like UFOs and Moldavite and other stuff like that. So it's kind of like where it's a manifestation stone, like I said, and it kind of makes you manifest like your higher good. So the first piece of Moldavite I got, I was kind of using it in like a bad or like in not a positive way to manifest. I was trying to manifest like a girlfriend or like a date or whatever. And so, and it was working. And then I was like, oh, and I was going to get home, I was going to go change, get ready for this date that just I manifested. And so it was weird how it just kind of happened, like whatever. But then I knew that I wasn't supposed to probably use the stone for that like, it's really just like, this is my own desires, not really like what for anything else. So then I'm driving along in my car and all of a sudden I feel like something around my neck. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like this, like little presence, like I felt like a hand was on the back of my neck, but I'm driving the car alone. And these are on like rope strings. And all of a sudden I feel like a snap and like the rope, like all of a sudden fell and the shungite was nowhere to be found. It was gone. It was like it's like the stone was taken from me because I wasn't using it properly. And so because I was using it in a way that it wasn't supposed to be, it was taken from me. And there have been like other stories. I know I have another friend who said he gave a piece of the Moldavite to his like sister's friend because she wanted to manifest some stuff, but that she gave it back like a couple days later, was like, you need to take this back. Like I saw aliens in my room and all this other stuff. And they were like talking to him, like, I can't deal with like, no, I don't want this. Like,
I got to get some Moldavite. I got to get some.
Yeah. Yep. And you'll even be able to feel it. Like when you even like just put it on your hand, you'll be able to feel like it kind of like, it almost has like a vibration or something.
So what is your like daily, what does your day look like? Like as an energy healer, what does your day look like? What do you?
I work at the University of Minnesota School of Dentistry. So it looks like they go into work.
Every day like everybody else?
Yeah.
Do you talk to people? Do you talk to people about these things?
Mm-hmm. Yep. On the side. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And they don't look at you like you're woo woo. They just.
No. They definitely look at me like I'm woo woo. Like definitely like who's this crazy hippie like talking to
yes. Me? Do you know what I feel like is going to happen though? I really think that within the next probably decade, I think that we're going to see a shift in. So now it's not pharmaceuticals, it's crystals. Now it's not pharmaceuticals, it's sound. I think that we're going to start seeing, as we continue to wake up, we're going to.
And your diet is your like basically, the old way is like your food is your medicine.
Right. Yeah. It's your second, your gut is your second, and that's another neural pathway. You have a huge neural pathway in your gut.
Yeah.
So if you're not eating the right foods, you're not nourishing your mind.
Yeah.
You guys know Plato's quote about food? It says, let food be thy medicine or medicine be thy food.
Yeah.
So every time you don't want to eat, just think about that. You want food to be your medicine or do you want medicine to be your food?
Yep. It's like that Irish moss we were talking about before. Like unfair, where it literally has 98, the body's 102 essential nutrients. It literally has like almost everything that you need. And they survived the potato famine in Ireland because of Irish moss, because
Aaron got me on this. Yeah,
You know, they would eat the Irish moss, and that's basically how they survived the potato famine. And then it got out of like favor, and it became like everyone would kind of look down on it because it was the poor people in Ireland that were eating it, and that survived the potato famine. So they were kind of, oh yeah, they're poor, and so that's why everyone started to kind of look down on it, which I think it was intentional because they realized all the benefits, and they didn't really want everyone to incorporate all these benefits and everything. It also helps to suppress the diet because of all the nutrients that you actually think that you're getting food, and because of it being in Ireland and like the harsh climates out there, this moss is way better than like the Irish moss or like the sea moss, or like the Jamaican variety, because of its ability to photosynthesize the sun because of the harsh climates. And so then when you eat it, you're also able to incorporate this into yourself. And the species of this Irish moss is called Chondus crispus, and so it's like a purple algae kind of and so it's way different than like the Jamaican Irish moss, which still is good, but it's missing that other aspect of being able to like photosynthesize its food. And so then you're also able to then photosynthesize the sun as well as the plant when you eat it too.
So where would you recommend getting this?
They have it at like a bunch of like health food stores, or you can order even on Amazon and stuff too.
Okay.
You should describe it. It's a dry powder, Kristi. It's like it looks like a seasoning. It looks like Italian seasoning.
Yep. But it tastes like, it's very
pretty
fishy.
Good.
I mean, yeah, it's very, very fishy though. Like if you put it in a smoothie, it'll make your smoothie taste fishy.
It's salty.
That's the thing. I love fish. I don't like fish that taste like fish.
Yeah.
Isn't that the worst? If the best thing you can say about the thing you're eating is it doesn't taste like the thing you're eating, you shouldn't eat it. If that's the best thing you can say. What is wrong with everyone? It doesn't taste like what it is. Don't eat it.
This fish tastes too fishy.
Don't eat it. If it tastes like something that you automatically are repelled by, but when it doesn't, hey, I can swallow this. It doesn't taste like what it is.
Yep.
Or I could get
it's a superfood though. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. It is a superfood, and I think that regardless of what it tastes like, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's kind of, so when you're taking a dose of it every day, because it's also high, for those that don't know, it's high in iodine. So you don't really want to over iodine yourself, but you do in case of a nuclear war. But when it comes to it, it's really pretty tasty. You just eat it more like you're popping seeds or something, and it's kind of I don't know, Aaron, would you call it kind of crunchy?
Yeah, and then I'll put like the granule ones. I'll put them in like my hummus or guacamole and just kind of eat it with chips and stuff, and then it kind of gets incorporated into like that. Yeah, like especially guacamole, it's just like it's perfect for just sprinkling your guacamole. Just kind of eat it with salsa.
So on the frequency energy side of it, I'm wondering, is there any frequencies you hover around, like when you're doing the crystal healing? Is there any frequencies that you kind of gravitate towards to just for other people, or is there something that maybe they could have on depending on what's ailing them? If it's
like the main one really is like the 256 hertz, which is really good for like grounding properties and connecting with like the root chakra and your heart chakra and stuff. And especially since a lot of the crystal healing I like to do is like rose quartz crystal healing, which is like really incorporating like the heart chakra and stuff. And so then along with you do like the crystal healing, and you could do the tuning forks in people's ears and then all around their body and stuff. And they also have that frequency, which also amplifies like the heart chakra healing as well.
So, Aaron, how long would you say if somebody had been battling cancer? Let's say somebody has, tumors or a tumor and has been battling cancer for years. Okay, how would you deal with that? Like, let's just say it's ovarian cancer. Let's just say it's ovarian cancer. Ovaries have been removed, but there was a tumor found. And let's just say like that was the situation. Like how would you approach that?
Yeah. Well, I do know that the 256 is also good for like cell growth and tissue regeneration as well. So it's good for that. Then as far as for your bone and stuff, whether like magnesium and calcium are like two great things for bone, and like 320 hertz is like a healing frequency for calcium. And then 341 hertz is a healing frequency for magnesium, and it kind of really like helps to like up your like the calcium intake in your body and the magnesium intake in your body when you kind of incorporate those like the different frequencies as well, and into like.
So let's just say somebody came to you, Aaron, with this issue, right? And said, okay, I have ovarian cancer, or had ovarian cancer. My ovaries have been removed. They found a tumor. I'm now going through chemo and I'm doing these things. Like as far as the frequencies and the sound, there's just that, and even like specific crystals, and also
I would
sound, and you take crystals and you put those things together. What do you think you could do for this person? Like if there was a specific person in this situation.
I would do like a rose quartz crystal healing like daily for like 15-20 minutes daily, and then incorporate that in with the sound things too daily. And then I would also start eating sea moss daily as well, and starting to really get that, because that would help heal the inner, and then this would also help heal the outer. And like the rose quartz one, you can take like maybe 6 pieces of rose quartz, and you can put those right on your chest in kind of like a cross pattern, and then you'll put some citrine down over by your belt. And then you'll take some amethyst, and you'll put the amethyst right on your third eye chakra. And then you can take 2 pieces of regular quartz crystal and hold those in your hand, and you can lay on your back as you're doing this. And that's like a rose quartz healing. And that's great for just like incorporating love back into your life, and it's self-love. And then the self-love is like a healing frequency anyways. And so once you start to love yourself, then you start to heal yourself as well. And so you start doing that every day along with like the tuning and everything else. You'll really start to notice a difference. And then really like the diet, like especially too, because it's like the inner and outer, you kind of want to have match, so.
So do you feel like overall crystal, between if you can mix crystal and sound healing, do you feel like this is where it's at?
Yeah, and especially too, because sound has even been shown to kind of amplify. I mean, they've been shown where they can use sound vibrations to like like raise people, like
levitate,
basically, levitate and stuff, where they can levitate objects and stuff, through sound and stuff too.
So we have a few minutes left. I don't know. Should we? We should talk about this again. We should get into the actual process. Yeah, Aaron's right. I've gotten the experience of having, doing the crystal healing, but there is so much more to this, and we're just scratching the surface. I don't know.
And yours was because you had a pain in your back and stuff too. So you're like, okay, I've tried everything else. Let me try the crystal healing to get rid of this pain.
Actually, wasn't that during, Aaron and I are climbers, for a disclaimer. And I was on a wall, and I was in a corner route, and the goal was you had one hand and one arm on one wall, and one hand and I had to match my foot and my left foot, left arm, and I apparently impressed the doctors. They said you have a lot of core strength, because I twisted my body so hard, I actually ripped my lowest right rib from my cartilage, which the doctors that I also climb with were like, listen, it would have been way better if you had broken your rib, but which I did when I died, I literally heard a pop. I was trying to make the move, and I heard a pop, And I'm like, that didn't sound good. It took a couple seconds. And then every single breath I took, everyone, just imagine an actual knife on the inside of your lung stabbing outward. And that was 24 hours a day for 2 weeks. But I didn't want to stop. I actually cried because I thought I wasn't going to be able to climb. So Aaron was part of, I was doing chiropractic. I was doing Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, and healing and acupressure. And well, I was doing a lot of things back then. And then one of the things that, Aaron came along and said, yeah, you need to try the crystal healing. But yeah, I still have a small lump because, when you tear your ribs, apparently from cartilage, they don't really heal well fast. So that's a good time. But the crystal healing, that was part of that. That was very helpful. I will tell you this, Kristi, when I was doing it, I slipped into some, I had no idea. I slipped out. I didn't, it wasn't that
breath work.
Yeah.
But breath work?
Different. It was different in that, I thought I was conscious. I thought I was there. And the next minute I was like, I was not there. I don't know. Aaron, do you remember?
Yeah. Like you said, you saw a tree of life that you kind of went through and stuff, and everything with this big tree that you're describing to me afterwards. And
yeah, I because it was so weird.
It's like a psychedelic experience.
It was ironically.
Yeah. Where it's happened to me before, a bunch of people where, so the Sufis, interesting fact. So they have this thing where they can lucid dream, and they can, so in a group of 6 of them, they'll get into a room, they'll all fall asleep, and they'll lucid dream, and they'll wake up in each other's dreams, and then they'll have conversations about it afterwards and everything. So then, because I know I've been really studying how I can do crystal healing on multiple people instead of one person at a time, how I can do them on 5 people at a time, all laying down and everything. And I was like, I bet you I can get them all where they'll lucid dream and they'll wake up in each other's dreams. So that's kind of my goal, is to do that through crystal healing, is to have people have a shared lucid dream.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I think Jared will volunteer. I'll volunteer.
Yeah, we should do this as a group. We should try this as a group.
Yeah, 100%. I will definitely be a research subject for that.
Yeah. Well, we got a few minutes left. I mean, what else should we cover?
I think we've got it.
Yeah.
I think
so. Yeah, so as far as the psychedelic experience part too, you were saying, is that they do, the psychedelics kind of, they open up a door to the ether, the other world, for a little bit. And the crystals, when you concentrate them like that, it'll also open up that door for a little bit too, as well. So it kind of, it opens up the door to the ether. And so you kind of, and the ether is what's that? That's the world right beyond this one, where everything is possible. Everything is created.
Beyond the veil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think there's a better way to do it? Do you think there's an efficient way to get to the other side of the veil? I mean, what's your recommended method? Not that you're recommending anyone to do anything.
Yeah, that and meditation. I mean, I can get there like that. If you really need to maybe go do some spiritual battling or whatever, and you feel like I need to go battle the darkness and I need to be in there a little bit longer, because when you're meditating and stuff, and if you can get pushed out and back into this world. And so, but if you take a hallucinogen, you're not getting pushed out. You're going to be there until it ends, so especially if you're really trying to go on a journey and learn a lot about yourself or something else, and then you can use it to that, because it helps keep the door open a little bit longer.
Yeah. So this has been really great. Kristi, any final questions?
Yeah, no, so this has been really great. I will say I spent a couple of weeks in an ayahuasca journey, and it was pretty amazing, which kind of led me to where I am now, to, where you're a little more connected to the human condition and the ether, basically. You just kind of connect the two. And and see it a little bit more clearly, I think.
Mhm.
But no, this has been great. I've had a great time. This has been great. We've got to do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you want to stand by with us, we're gonna do the outro, and we can chat afterwards if you're good.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. You'll see us next Wednesday. We also have an upcoming trip that we're planning. If you want to join a tour group, we're going to have info about that on archaeox.com. That's going to be back. We're going to take a select group to, well, select as in its limited spaces, to Belize to dig around in the jungle and go on an adventure. And Kristi and I will be talking more about that next week and in some other upcoming podcasts, and we'll have those scheduled on archaeox.com. Anything else, Kristi? Did I forget?
No, I think you got it.
Okay, well, just hold on, Aaron, and we'll be back with you in a minute.